Cura is the slicer most people started on. It is still one of the most used pieces of software in 3D printing, and it does several things better than anything else does. It is made by UltiMaker, it is free and open source, and it has been in continuous development for well over a decade, which shows in how deep it goes. So this is a tour of it. The two interface modes, the settings tree, the settings that matter, the plugin marketplace, the special modes, and an honest comparison against OrcaSlicer. Chapter 1: 2 ways to use it. Cura opens in recommended mode, which reduces everything down to about 4 controls: a quality slider, an infill slider, a supports checkbox, and an adhesion checkbox. That is genuinely enough to print well. If you are new, staying in recommended for your first month is a reasonable decision rather than a compromise. Custom mode opens the full settings tree, and that is where Cura's real character shows up, because there are several hundred settings organized into about a dozen categories. The categories are ordered roughly the way a print is built: quality, then walls, then top and bottom, then infill, material, speed, travel, cooling, support, and adhesion. That ordering is not accidental, and it is worth using. If you are chasing a problem, working down the list in order tends to find it faster than jumping about. Chapter 2: Setting Visibility, which is the best idea in the program. By default, Cura hides most of its settings. There is a visibility control that switches between basic, advanced, and expert reveals a genuinely intimidating number of options. That sounds like an annoyance, and it is actually the opposite. It means a beginner is not shown 400 settings, and an expert is never blocked from one. You can also tick individual settings to keep visible, so you can build a custom shortlist of the 20 you actually use and hide everything else. Above that list is a search box, and this is the single most useful thing in Cura's interface. Type any part of a setting name and it finds it wherever it lives. It searches the descriptions too, so typing stringing or warping will surface the settings related to those problems even if the words are not in the setting names. And every setting has a tooltip that explains what it does in plain language. Cura's documentation is effectively built into the interface, which is rarer than it should be. Chapter 3: The Settings Worth Knowing. Layer height sits at the top under quality and does what it does everywhere: sets your vertical resolution and trades directly against print time. Under walls, wall line count is the strength setting. Cura counts lines rather than loops, but it means the same thing, and 3 or 4 is right for functional parts. Cura also exposes wall ordering, letting you print the outside wall before or after the inner ones. Inside to outside gives better dimensional accuracy. Outside first gives a slightly better surface. Under top and bottom there is ironing, which reruns the nozzle across the top surface with almost no material to melt it smooth. It is slow, and on a flat top it looks excellent. Infill density behaves as it does everywhere, and Cura's gradual infill is worth knowing. It prints low density deep inside the part and increases it near the top surface. That gives you a solid surface to print onto without filling the whole model, and on tall parts, it saves a real amount of time and filament. Chapter 4: The Marketplace. This is Cura's genuine differentiator. There is a built-in plugin marketplace, and the ecosystem around it is far larger than any other slicer has. Some of them are close to essential. Mesh Tools adds proper model repair, and Calibration Shapes puts a set of test objects directly into the program. There are network plugins that connect Cura directly to printer host software, so you can slice and send in one action rather than walking a memory card across the room. The marketplace also carries material profiles from filament manufacturers, which are usually a better starting point than the generic ones. The wider point is that if you have an unusual requirement, there is a reasonable chance somebody has already written a plugin for it, and that is not true elsewhere. Chapter 5: Special Modes and Per Model Settings. Under Special Modes, there is Spiralize Outer Contour, which most people know as vase mode. It prints the model as one continuous rising spiral with a single wall and no top. It only works on models that are a single unbroken shape, and when it works, the result has no layer seam at all, because there is never a point where a layer starts. Cura also has strong per-model settings. Right-click any object, and you can override almost any setting for that one object while the rest of the plate prints normally. There is also a support blocker, which is a shape you place in the scene that prevents supports generating inside it. It is a different approach to painting, and it works well for simple exclusions. And under mesh fixes, union overlapping volumes quietly solves a whole family of problems caused by models built from overlapping shapes that were never merged properly. Chapter 6: Cura or OrcaSlicer. The honest answer is that both are excellent, and the gap is much smaller than the internet suggests. They are both descended from the same generation of slicing research. Orca's advantage is the built-in calibration suite. Cura has nothing equivalent, and that genuinely matters if you are tuning a new filament. Cura's advantages are the plugin marketplace, the setting search and visibility system, and the fact that almost every printer ever made has a Cura profile somewhere. So if you are starting fresh, Orca is the easier recommendation. If you are already on Cura and it works, switching for its own sake would be a waste of an afternoon. So start in recommended, move to custom when you need to, use the search box constantly, raid the marketplace, and remember gradual infill and vase mode exist. Cura's real strength is depth. It will let you configure things most people never touch, and it explains each one to you while you do it, which makes it a slicer you can grow into rather than out of, and that is a large part of why it has lasted as long as it has. If this helped, subscribe to Layer Logic. There is a companion video touring OrcaSlicer if you want to compare them properly.